All right, welcome back. For a lot of parents, talking to kids gets a little trickier as they enter those teenage years. Psychologist Dr. Jonice Webb has some tips that hopefully will be a big help. First of all, doctor, thanks for coming in. Full disclosure, I have an 11-year-old daughter, and I'm already seeing, the challenges of communicating. And people used to joke to me, it's like, well, why don't you just come back when they're 22, when they like you again, and then everything's
absolutely.
fine. But that's probably not the right approach. So what are we supposed to do?
Well, teenagers, it really helps parents to understand why teenagers are so difficult and emotional. And it really is because their brains aren't fully developed yet. Their prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that does foresight and planning and also is involved in emotion management, is still under construction. So they're just a little bit lost in general.
So how do you deal with one day they love you and the next day they have tantrums? Or what about when they have the tantrums or they don't communicate and then they apologize immediately? Like, how do you address those microcosmic situations that are so confusing as a parent?
I think it's a tricky business of acknowledging their feelings without giving their feelings too much power. And that's really the essence of what makes parenting an adolescent really work. Most parents, myself included, I've raised 2 teenagers myself, really kind of tend to overreact to the teenagers' ups and downs and all over the places. And if you just can understand, it's just that their brain's not fully developed yet and they're struggling, and just try to respond as evenly as possible.
So don't get sucked in by every single
Don't get sucked
drama.
in or
it's
overreact.
So difficult not to get pulled into it.
I know.
The other thing that we struggle with in our household, and I know that everyone else does, is technology. And so how from your work and your research, should we deal with it? When's a good age to introduce it? How much should we limit it? What are the negative impacts of it?
Yes. So I suggest parents start limiting access to the internet as soon as the child is old enough to watch anything on an electronic.
Which now is like 6 months.
6 months, they're barely able to manage their hands. Because you're setting up your child's relationship that he or she will have with electronics for a lifetime. So the sooner you can start, the better. If you're starting now in teen years to limit your child's access, then it's, you can still take their electronics away during family time, meal time, sleep time. Those kinds of interventions just that alone tells your child that he or she should limit him or herself with electronics.
I mean, there's so many topics, and it's hard to cover this in 3 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, it's really impossible. But the other major issue I think a lot of parents face is when your child is not sharing, when they're not communicating with you, and there's so much going on, not only in their life, but in their heads and in their hearts. What do you do?
Well, one thing you can do is pay attention when they're around. Be as involved sort of on the outskirts of what they're doing as you can. If you're in the car with them, really pay attention. Try to talk to their friends, because you can learn so much about what your child is up to by being around their friends.
So don't push them to talk. Just try to be really sort of uber observant on the fringes.
They're open sometimes and they're closed sometimes. So when they're open, that's when it's really important for parents to set down whatever they're doing and pay attention.
All right, Dr. Jonice Webb, who's the author of many books, including Running on Empty and Running on Empty No More. Just really helpful. Well, hopefully have you back again another time, because there's just so many issues to unpack.
Oh, yes, there's a lot.
All right, thank you so much. Joy, back to you.